Hello there and welcome to this CARVECO Maker tutorial. I'm Roger Webb and I have been asked over the last few weeks to make a series of, I suppose, start off with CARVECO Maker. So today we're going to start off with some simple drawing with CARVECO Maker. So to start off, when you start the program up, this is the screen that greets you. So the first thing you need to do is to open a new model and select the size of model which you want to create, or the size of work. This isn't set in concrete, you can actually alter this later. So I'm going to say 200 by 200, and as a matter of course, I suppose, I always take the resolution all the way up to maximum. This sort of helps you if you're working with 3D reliefs. It gives a better outcome. Now, whether you're working with a CNC router or a CNC mill, you can choose the orientation or the start of the program in any of the corners or the center. Now, if it was a CNC milling machine, you'd be probably starting with this back corner here. CNC routers normally start with this front left corner here, and sometimes you can use the center here. I tend to use the center here if I have a circular object, but for this job or this tutorial we'll use this bottom left hand corner or front left hand corner. I practically always use millimeters. However, in the future I will be doing some tutorials in inches. So having our workpiece set up, we can press OK. So you have a choice of either working in the 3D screen, of which this is, because this is a yellow work area, or to switch to the 2D is just this tag up here, and it will go white. So that's to distinguish 3D, 2D. Most people like to draw in the 2D. Now you'll see on the outside of the drawing area there are rulers. Now if when you open your program those rulers are not displayed and you require them, just come up here to View, and you can turn the rulers off and on here with this window. As we need them on, we won't change it. So this program is very well laid out. So down this side you have all the drawing tools and manipulating tools, and across the top here you have the normal save window, undo window. In other words, if you make a mistake you can undo it. This is where all the 3D reliefs are kept in here. We don't really need those at the moment. This is vector management tools. If I brought a picture into here and I wanted to make vectors to do a V-bit carving or something like that, these are the tools here I would use. This is the vector doctor. Now when you're dealing with vectors, incidentally, a vector is any line of size or shape that you put on this board. You will need to manipulate some of those lines or vectors, and to ensure you don't have any crossover lines or lines that don't quite meet, this is the vector doctor that you can select to check your drawing to make sure that CARVECO is going to understand the lines and there's not going to be any mistakes. This is for copying objects, whether you want to copy it in a certain rotational direction or copy along a curve or a line. We'll come to that in the future. Now these are 3D manipulating tools. We're not going to use those in this tutorial, but that will be in further tutorials. And this is the toolpath area. You can also get to these here: 2D, 3D, and also laser for laser engraving, cutting, or etching. This last one here is not lit. This is for simulation. When you have completed your toolpaths and you want to simulate your piece of work, you can use this. It will light up when we've drawn something and we have toolpaths on here created. This area over here is your project tree, and different things will come up here as we progress through a simple drawing. So what we're going to do here is get a simple square drawing tool or rectangle drawing tool, and you'll see on the right hand side a wizard, for want of a better word, will pop up to assist you to do some drawings. So what you can do is just what I've done actually here is I've come over here and in not any particular area. Now I'm going to left click, hold it down and draw my rectangle and then release it. Okay, so it's not actually defined at any particular size or any particular position at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set some parameters. I'm going to set 75 millimeters and 100 millimeters. Now at this point, if we wanted to, we could have rounded corners, and I think we will. We'll have this rounded corners of let's go 12 millimeters. Oh, that was a little bit too much. Pressing too many keys at once. Now, if I wanted to, I could invert that. So you can actually make a design for something like a frame for a picture of some sort. But we won't make this too complicated, so we will untick that and we'll just have rounded corners, because what we are interested here is making a pocket to get started with machining with our little CNC router. Now this is telling me that it's not quite in the middle, because we know this is 200 millimeters long, because we set that in the opening screen, and it's 200 millimeters wide, and the orientation is this corner here. So what this needs to be is 100 and 100, and now we know that is set right in the middle there. So now we have all our parameters drawn correctly. 75, 100, 12 millimeter corners, 100, 100, the X and Y. We're going to say create, and we can cancel out of that now. And if you wanted to, you could come off the drawing and click, and now it's deselected, and you can go and select it again. if you wish. If you wanted to adjust the size of this, you can go in here into transform and you get the handles up again. You can rotate it around, you can push, pull it, you can make it any size you want. And again, this is a wizard that assists you to do that, but it's actually correct where we want it. So we're going to go back up here to our normal working tool. So the next thing we're going to do is make a tool path. So having this selected, we can either come and pick a tool path from up here, or we can come up here and pick this is actually a 2D or 2.5D. It could be called both, and it's an area clearance. Okay, we're going to clear out or machine this boxed area, and then another wizard pops up. This is a machining wizard, so it assists you to fill it in, or prompts you. So selected vectors, okay, yes, it's the selected vector that we want to cut. Cut in depth, start depth 0. I always make the top of the material my 0 point. So yes, we want to start at the top of the material, and the finishing depth we want to go down to 10 millimeters. I don't normally worry too much about tolerances or allowances, because this is a piece of, we're saying this is a piece of MDF, and in that case, you know, it's a piece of wood. The nearest 0.1 of a millimeter is absolutely fine. Okay, so now we're going to choose a tool. So we go in and add a tool. And for this demonstration, we're going to use a 8mm end mill, or this could be an 8mm router tool. The parameters are very similar. So we're going to press OK. So now it recognizes, CARVECO, the program, now recognizes we've chosen an 8mm end mill. So now we're going to set up the individual parameters for this tool. Now these are the preset figures, and for something like MDF they're probably pretty good. You can raise them up a bit if you wish, but in this circumstance it's MDF, and I'm using a fairly small router of 400 by 400 millimeters working table, and it's an 800 watt spindle motor. So this in fact would be about right. 15,000 RPM. I will actually put that up to about 18,000 RPM. I know that my tool likes to spin a little faster than that. Okay, now there are two ways in which to machine a piece of material like this, and I know from experience that my little machine would much prefer what is known as an offset machining. In other words, it's going to come in here and we'll set it, it's actually preset it, because CARVECO actually learns what your preferences are, and it knows that if I choose an offset machining strategy, that I like to start from the inside. So it's already preset it up. Now if it was a raster, that means it would go down in this front edge and go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, work its way back. But as I'm using an offset, it will come into the middle and it will rotate around, and I'll show you another trick in a minute to make life a little easier and give you a little bit more tool life and prevent you from snapping tools. And we're going to perform a ramping move in a minute, but just so you understand what the difference is between an offset and a standard raster. Okay, so it's going to go into the middle and work its way out. You can also choose to work from the outside in if you wish. Now here we go. Ramp moves. Now don't get confused about these numbers. They're very simple. Maximum ramp angle 10 degrees. It's fine. Maximum ramp length 10 millimeters. Well, we've got an 8mm tool, so in this case 10 millimeters is absolutely fine. Really you don't have to fill that in at all, because you've given it a number here to work with. And you want it to start to move in a zigzag movement back and forth, and also reduce its height into the material 2 millimeters off the surface of the material. That's what this is saying. Okay. Now this is an important one. Machine safe. Okay, so what it's saying here is the safe position for a tool. So you're telling CARVECO and your CNC router that it is safe 5 millimeters above the surface here. It's not going to hit anything. The home position is in the X0 and the Y0, and 5 millimeters above the material, which is here. Because this is our 0, 0 point here, look. 0 and 0. X, Y, 0 there. And you're telling the machine and the program that it's okay. This is the home position, and 5 millimeters above the material in this corner. And then it will run over to the center of the material here and start to machine it out. So let's just check things back here. We've got a step over of 2.4 millimeters, a step down of 3.81. It could be 3.8, it could be 3.5. That's okay. Feed rate 20 millimeters per second. Plunge rate 6 millimeters per second. 18,000 RPM. And tool number 1. We are only using one tool in this process. So now we set our material up. And this is a piece of 16 millimeter MDF. I'm going to press OK. So you've given CARVECO now all the information about the material, the tool you're using, the parameters of the tool you're using, and now we'll give it a title. So this is 8 millimeter. Just something simple so you understand what it is. Calculate now, and there it is. So we come out of that now. So the next thing to do is to simulate this cut, just to make sure it looks okay, because what you see here is exactly what CARVECO is going to do, or what your machine is going to do using the CARVECO program. So we're going to come to the 3D window now, and we're going to come to an isometric view. Press on that corner, come to this one. So now we can see exactly what we're doing. So zooming in. Actually, what I did there is I just hovered over the material, and I've got the center scroll wheel, and I'm rotating it one direction and the other. If you want to move this material bodily around the screen, it's press left and right mouse key together, and you can move it wherever you want. Release, scroll, and if you don't want to see these red lines, or you find them confusing, you can come here to where it says toolpaths and click, and you can turn them off. I like to actually see them, and you can actually check to see how many levels you're going down. So it's 1, 2, 3. So it's going to do 3 levels of cut there. So we go here now. So you see this is lit up now. As when we initially started the program, it was blank. Now it's lit up because we have made some toolpaths. So now we can click on that and simulate. And there you go. What you see is exactly what you get. I'll show you a couple of other things here. So just click on this simulate, and now you can come into here. At the moment it's set on the default. You can set this on any of, I think there's probably 40 or 50 different materials. White gold beech, blue wax. I'll just scroll through these so you can have a little look. Light oak, mahogany. Mahogany is quite nice actually. You can have vertical. Sorry, you can have horizontal grain or vertical grain. Let's try horizontal grain mahogany and apply. Oh, look at that, beautiful. My favorite actually is bronze. I do like bronze. Looks very nice, doesn't it? Oh, there's a new move. Now what I've done here, to move this around in space, in 3D space like that, what you need to do is come onto the material and just hold your scroll wheel down and just move the mouse and hold it down and move. Okay? And you can scroll it around. Move it bodily by holding 2 keys down. So there you are. We have our pocket, which is exactly what we wanted. So there's only one thing left to do now, and that is export the toolpaths. So to change your screen, I just go onto the toolpaths and left click, which brings up this section here, and what we're looking for is the little floppy disk here. So we'll hit that. Okay, so this is left over from the last job that I did, so we'll highlight that and rename this to 8mm test cut. Now, G-code. I have found over the 10-12 years actually that I've been using, first of all, ArtCam, and then changing over to CARVECO 3 years ago. G-code millimeter tap is the most basic G-code, and it suits all machines. I've never had a machine that will not accept this, or a controller. If you're using an SMC5 controller or something like that, an offline controller, this is the language that it understands. You have the, if you have other preferences, and it's already set out here, Haas machine, sort of, what else is there? There's a million of them. Here we go. Mach 3, Mach 4, even Masso. It caters for everybody, but this is the one I prefer. So we're going to say save, and it's as quick as that. It's gone to the desktop. Incidentally, you can, if you have multiple files here, you can just sort of move them about by using these arrows, okay, to choose individual files to save. Okay. So, thank you for joining me for this first of the CARVECO Maker tutorials that I'm starting this month, that I'm going to run until after Christmas. In that time, I will also be carrying out CARVECO Maker Plus tutorials and some of the main programs of CARVECO. But primarily it's going to be CARVECO Maker. Don't forget, underneath this video, in the video description area, there is my discount code for the CARVECO programs, which is quite a hefty discount. Whether you purchase or pay monthly, whether it's whatever program it is, even the professional program, CARVECO, the professional program, you get the same discount off that. So I'm Roger Webb, and thank you for joining me, and I hope you call in again to see one of my other videos. So it's bye for now.